Well, my name is Marion Frampton. A lot of people may refer to me as T-Mob, or T/MOB.
This call is from a federal prison.
I'm in federal prison. I began with a 30-year sentence for a case that I caught in 1999 when I was 19 years old. But as time went on, I was sitting here serving this time. A few laws have changed, and since then I've received a 10-year sentence reduction due to changes in the drug laws. And I've been in prison about 17 years now. And due to these changes in the laws and the time that I have in, I'm on my way home, so I'm finishing up this 30-year sentence. Well, really I can't even describe it, because it happened in 3 intervals. I received a reduction, the first one in '07, then I received another one in 2010, and then I just received another one recently, which was in 2015. And I really can't put it in words. It's kind of hard for me to comprehend, to relay over this conversation. I think that I've been thinking about that. It's crazy because I think about why it's so hard for me to express, and I've come to the conclusion the only way I'm gonna be able to express my gratitude is through actions, is to exhibit through behavior how I feel about being able to come home 10 years earlier than they expected me to, or they wanted me to. Well, my whole life, I remember since I was a child, I had always wanted to be a criminal. You know, looking up to my father, and the things that he was doing, the things that he had put before my eyes, whether he knew that I could see them or not, they had always enticed me. You know, and I had great love for my father, and to be honest, I just wanted to be like him. And then growing up in the South Bronx and the Marhaven section of the Bronx and seeing all the things that surrounded me, they were just overbearing, and they just had some sort of beauty to them. So I started out with regular crimes. I wasn't always in federal prison. I started out in juvenile prisons. I've been to Spofford a few times. I've been to Rikers Island a few times. I served DFY bids, which is Division of Youth bids. I served a small state sentence where I went to state prison, New York State Prison. And by the time I was 19, I was so mentally wrapped up in crime that I was behaving in a manner that caught me up in the 30-year prison sentence. I was charged with trying to take someone's life to take over their drug operations. When I look back on that, I can't even believe that that was the way I was thinking. But in 1999, January 7th, 1999, I was charged with racketeering, murder for hire, violent crime in the aid of racketeering, and I went to trial, received 30-year federal prison sentence. Nah, I never thought about punishment. I never thought about repercussions. And it's funny because I'm reading a book right now called Road Less Traveled, and they're talking about delaying gratification. I never delayed my gratification. I never got the hard work done first and waited for the payoff. I always wanted to get paid off, which was not in financial, but even in just like the energy that I was receiving. There was never any thought of prison. A lot of people say that you know right from wrong. I'm telling you that that's not true. I didn't. If I knew it, I didn't take the time to think about it. I didn't distinguish right from wrong. Being in the streets, crime, that was the only thing that I cared about, and I know that. I know that, and it's so obvious to me now because that's the only thing that I don't care about. I've been to prison multiple times, and every time I was always on my way back to the streets. I never cared about anything else. I was always going right back to crime. I never thought about prison. I never thought about the repercussions. I never thought about the pain that I was causing my family or the pain that I was causing anybody else's family. When I was selling narcotics, I never thought about the people or the communities I was destroying. I never even realized that I was a menace to my community until I was taken out of it and understood and got to see what a menace to society was. I never considered myself that. Well, that was something that I had picked up again in the streets as a juvenile. You know, just, I don't know, I guess it was a point in my life where I just was diving deeper and deeper into criminal behaviors, criminal activities, and I saw that as something that would embellish or magnify whatever was my street statute. I never really understood the underlying principle of it, but it had, at one point in time, it had a revolutionary principle where we were supposed to stand for one another and protect one another against whether it was prison issues or street issues or just poverty itself. I mean, that was the thing that was put forth to a lot of us, but it seems like that's no longer its principle. But when I first became a part of that, it was just me chasing more glory, me chasing more street fame, me wanting to be recognized as some sort of hood figure or hood star. To be honest, I learned a lot from it because I've been a part of it for almost 20 years now, and being around so many different people with so many different attitudes and so many different objectives and so many different hidden agendas, I was able firsthand to see whether it was love or hate, whether it was jealousy, whether it was envy, whether it was people that really cared. Meeting so many different people from that walk of life and being so confined by so-called rules or whatever the case may be actually made me the person that I am. A lot of people say that the blood gang is terrible and it's bad, and I have to be honest, in certain aspects, in many aspects, on its face aspects, it is. But the in-depth internal message or the internal lessons that you learn from life, from being surrounded by so many different people and so many different attitudes, if you're actually paying attention, it can actually make you a better person, as it's done to myself. I can't speak for other people, but being in a gang, it was a blessing and a curse for me. You know, a lot of actions are made. Let's speak with these younger people. Let's take it to the household for a minute. Let's speak about the parents. Sometimes parents' actions are meaningless. You know, sometimes our parents try to discipline us. Sometimes our parents say things to us, and those messages are actually meaningless because they say one thing and they behave another way. My message to young people is, you know, it's hard because I've realized that talk is cheap. But if I had to verbally express myself, young people need to realize that life is precious. And it's crazy that I'm even saying this because I didn't know this at one point. But life is actually precious. That's not a saying. It's not a talking point. I'm not someone who's interested in caring about me speaking eloquently a lot. Life is actually precious. Being here right now, being able to breathe, being able to look at things, being able to smell, to taste, to touch. Being alive is actually...
This call is from a federal prison.
Being alive actually has an in-depth meaning that's hard for me to express in words. That's why I said I'm glad that I'm coming home soon and the things that I'm about to do. My message is to get people to realize that life is valuable, is precious. And when you kill somebody or put yourself in a situation to get killed, you're taking yourself away from that chance. Life is a chance at things. It's not just a chance at... It's a chance to experience what the world actually has to offer. And when you indulge in gun violence, you're subtracting yourself from that chance. Gun violence is actually nothing. It's meaningless. When you do something, the result of it is supposed to have a great effect on not only you, but the world. When you do something, when you take somebody's life, when you put yourself in a situation to lose your life, that'll task. Nothing is coming out of that. It means nothing. It's saying nothing. The fact of the matter is a lot of parents are raising children than their children. I'm not saying that from like I'm guessing that. I know that. I witnessed that. I've seen that. A lot of parents believe that simply because they have jobs and they're paying the bills, that's what entails the full responsibility of a parent. But a lot of parents fail to realize that their children see everything that they do. And the messages that they may send verbally or physically aren't always taken in by the child as the ultimate message. Behavior is taken in more than anything. And why our parents are the way they are, why our children are the way they are, why we as human beings are the way we are, that's a whole nother topic that'll take who knows how long to cover. But the households aren't producing good children right now. So when we get into the streets, or when they get into the streets, finding a job isn't something that is a first thought. We don't care about that. Finding a job isn't exciting. If the streets is going to pay me more money than a job would, why would I find a job? If the streets is going to be more exciting to me than a job would, why would I find a job? If the streets is informing me or programming my gullible mind to believe that gun violence or violence period or my reputation is at an all-time high and it's the only way that I'll be respected or this is the thing that I should do, why wouldn't I do that? The fight that we have to save our children against gun violence is a very hard fight. It goes all the way back to the household, and it may even go further and deeper than that. Our subconscious mind and our conscious mind isn't working together. There's a lot going on, you know, and it's hard for me to even fathom how much work that I'm going to have to do when I get out there. But I'm telling you, I'm vowing to whoever is listening that me, Marion Frampton A.K.A. T-Mob, is definitely coming to fight that fight. It's not just gun violence. It's against any decision that's useless, that's meaningless. Nobody should be living a meaningless life. That makes absolutely no sense. Every move we make should be meaningful. You know, it's gonna be hard to do, but that's where I'm at. Well, that's a level. That's a whole totally different aspect of it, because that now questions the mind capacity or the thinking of the individual. Yo, we're not thinking, Sean. We're on drugs out there. Okay. They got all these new drugs. I've been in prison almost 20 years. They got these Mollies, these Sallies, this K2 trash. People aren't thinking. Nobody even thinks that far. Our level of thinking is, what's 2 plus 2? 4. Okay, what's 37,000 times 163? Oh, I don't know. Don't even ask me. Anything that we have to stop, get a piece of paper and a pencil to sit down and try to figure out. Anything that requires more than just a moment of thought is not something that we're dealing with. We're dealing with sporadic thinking. We're dealing with free of the moment. We're dealing with spur of the moment. We're dealing with jump out. We're dealing with instant gratification. And somebody, all we see is the firearm and what, as you said, the power that it entails. Anything beyond that, anything that requires more thought, we're not going to get that right now. We're not dealing with thinkers. We've been stopped thinking years ago. Jail's well, I can tell you that prison has changed me, but jail isn't doing anything for anybody. This place is a warehouse. Prison does nothing. You know, the same human beings that you have out there are the same human beings that you have in here. You have some people who care and some who do not. This is only making people worse, because
this call is from a federal prison.
The people that they're surrounding themselves by are complete idiots. They're ignorant. Nobody's picking up books to read. How I got this way, I couldn't even begin to tell you in words. But the solution is something that we will have to sit down and talk about and come up with. We're dealing with hundreds of years of mental strain. I have absolutely no idea how to answer that question right here, right now, in 15 minutes. The solution is serious. And it's something that's going to take a great deal of minds, a great deal of time, and true dedication. They say that the Europeans, that they have 20-year think tanks, where I don't know if it's literally where they take people and they lock themselves in the rooms for however many years, and they deal with issues, and they don't come out of that think tank until those issues is done. That's what we need in order to come up with an answer to that question right there, the solution. That's what we need. But I guess temporarily, I don't even know if we could subtract these children from the instant gratification that we're chasing now. I guess if I had to come up with one thing, we need to attack our children from youth. We're doing a bad job from youth. I mean, straight out the womb. Mm-hmm. The first 5 years are the most important years. We're losing them there. I know this as for a fact. We're losing them from the first 5 years to the next 5 years to the next 5 years. They're already lost. If we want them to think of something else, we have to program their minds in the beginning stages of their life, straight out of the womb. Straight out of the womb. We're not thinking. We're not doing any in-depth thinking.
This call is from a federal prison.
The only thing we're thinking about is gratification. That's the only thing we're thinking about. We remember the jewelry, the cars, the clothes, the females that surrounded them. And on top of that, we get convinced or persuaded that this is the best thing to do. We're not thinking about what happened to them. I'm 19 years old, I wound up with 30 years in prison. I never thought about the people who was before me that was either dead or wound up in prison for however many years. Thinking is not a part of it right now. We have to get back to the thinking. That's the point. That's what we're missing. Thought process, thinking, conscious mind and subconscious mind working together. That's what we're missing. We don't have that. We're in very bad shape. Never sunk into me. It's sad to say, but I never wrapped my mind around the fact that I was doing 30 years. And I question myself about that all the time. And I ask, why was that? And I actually think it was because I had so often been back and forth to prison that I was already conditioned to be in here. It was like I never really was home in the first place. I haven't been home for 7 months straight since I was 15 years old. I just turned 37 in June. That was my 22nd birthday in prison, on my 23rd birthday in prison. I haven't even seen a birthday on the street since I was 15 years old. That's the last time I was on the streets for a birthday. I was already conditioned for prison. I was already here anyway. Mentally, I was already here. I never really missed anything out there physically. You know, out there is just a physical thing. My mind was already in prison, going to the child hole, waking up, dealing with prison politics, and all the nonsense that comes along with this. Sadly, I was already here. So the 30 years didn't affect me as much as it would with someone else. And plus, I didn't have any children. I wasn't in a relationship with a female, so I really didn't have any strings attached to me. Every once in a while, it would dawn on me like, damn, you here for a long time. But the majority of it, I was already here before I came here, Sean. Mentally, I was already in prison. I mean, a lot of people, you know, I can't really say that I've sat down and spoken to people. I'm really somewhat like a recluse. And I've had conversations with people that I deal with, of course, but you can watch people. A lot of people begin to lose weight. They begin to lose their hair. They begin to take a bunch of medication. They begin to lose their mind. Yeah, 30 years is a very hard burden to carry. Very. You know, like I said, for myself, it was only because I was already here that it wasn't that heavy to me. But yes, it's a very hard burden. It breaks people down. A lot of people have been broken down. A lot of people have turned to pill line, which is where they go get all sorts of drugs to try to cope with the situation. I mean, I haven't heard any physical screams, but there's definitely been silent outcries that you see through behavior. Of course, that's a very long time to deal with. Shoot, anyway, we got to be 30 years. I've actually seen an individual take their own life because they were sentenced to 25 years. You know, people kill themselves behind sentences like that. You know, and I didn't know the guy, but I had discussions with him. And one day we went to the yard and came back, and he was hanging up in the bathroom.
Wow.
And it was everything attacks other people differently. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it all depends on the person. You know. Prison is definitely. I remember one time, the example, I had got into a physical altercation with a person in the street where we was about to get into a physical altercation. He was gonna hit me in the head with a bottle, and I had a knife. I was gonna stab him. I probably was 13. It was before I had my first juvenile bid, and we didn't speak. We weren't friends. And I went to Spofford, which was the juvenile joint in the Bronx, before they had any other where else. And I came home and I seen this guy, and this guy gave me a hug. Before I went to he wanted to hit me in the head with a bottle. By the time I came home, he embraced me. Prison, real quick, because this is about to cut off.
Yeah.
Prison, in some aspect, is seen as a badge of honor to a lot of people. Once you go to prison and come home, you've actually advanced on the stage of life or the game of life. It's ignorant. It's viewed from a different perspective than a regular civilian is viewing this from.